This meeting of the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District Board of Commissioners, regular meeting is now in session. It's Monday, March 24th at 9 a.m. We'll now stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to get the sheet.
Oh, we were way off on all that. Ready.
Thank you. David, would you read the roll, please?
Commissioner Rader,
Here.
Commissioner Rochford here, Commissioner Ralph,
Here.
and Commissioner Pinker.
Here. We have 4 present, we have a quorum. Got a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Any discussion about the agenda? All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Got a motion to approve the minutes for February 24, March 3rd, special meeting, and March 11th, special meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion about minutes of these meetings on February 24, March 3, and March 11? No discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes of February 24, March 3, and March 11, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The minutes have been approved. We have no ceremonial. Any announcements? Rich, you have any announcements?
Just mainly the restaurant, flooring's down, equipment's supposed to be delivered this week, so we'll get it up and going, and hopefully we'll have a test run this weekend before we completely open, so we're getting closer.
She told me, last night, I was over there, and she told me that everything was coming today. So everything should be delivered there today.
Yep.
And she said, she should be able to get open by April 1st.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we can get everything plumbed and electrical in, and that way, this weekend, we can do test runs on everything, and then we will be open as of the date we hope for.
Are you saying this weekend is a soft opening?
I'm open. I'll give you, we'll put it out there to confirm it.
Well, I remember talking to Misty some time ago. She said she wanted to do a little soft opening before we actually did the opening.
Exactly, and we want to do a soft opening to make sure everything's going to be working all right and everything goes through the system okay. And then that way we can do the opening, and then sometime a little bit later, we'll do a grand opening.
Okay.
Does she have her staff all ready yet?
Yeah, she was filling out paperwork on them Friday,
Okay.
so she should have about every position filled, hopefully.
Very well. Any public comments? I have the sheet here, no one signed up. Any reports? David, do you have any reports to tell us about?
Nothing at the workshop we talked about the joint city HICID road task force. We're moving forward. Our next meeting will be not this week, but the following Thursday. We had to postpone it this week because we're working on a joint legal counsel meeting that we have planned for Monday.
Very well. A motion to receive and approve the January and February financials. Everyone should have got the February's yesterday.
Yes, I'll make a motion that we approve those. Both months, February, January and February.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion about the January and February financials?
I had none.
I'll just go with our major project fund, which is in the, I can't believe, it runs, I'm just trying to, we talked early January about what our major project fund was gonna be used for, and I didn't open up the exact page, but I believe it's at the 600,000 mark right now. And do we have any of that fund earmarked? We had talked about possibly putting some of that money toward the bond, but that fell off the radar, so I don't know where
For the barn?
the bond.
Bond.
Oh, the bond.
Yeah.
Remember, because instead of having the whole
Yes.
amount, we wanted to use some of that, tower funds, to put toward that, maybe not complete that whole major project fund, but we had talked about putting some. I don't know where that ended up, or we are.
We have not pursued that anymore. We're first of all, we need to get the bond set for the UV project to get final pricing of it to see where we're at before we can make money towards the bond. Once the project's done, we set the bond at the final cost, then we can decide then later on if we want to take and try and pay towards the bond or whatever we want to do with the major project. Plus, I mean, the capital improvement money that we pulled out for other stuff, we might have to pull a little bit of that money out to help that capital improvement for our.
And that was one of the reasons why we weren't gonna totally complete
Yeah.
that major project fund, but. I just
Because we want to make sure we have a balanced budget at the end of the year still.
That's not my thing.
Is that it? The next item
Well,
of
I
new,
think we had to vote on it, we need to approve. Did we vote to approve?
No, we just had motion and seconded. We have not voted.
we've had the discussion, all those in favor of approving the January and February financials, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The January and February financials have been approved. Got a motion to discuss resumes for the appointing of a BOC member.
I'll make a motion to approve, jump on you. I'll make a motion to approve the, resumes for appointing a BOC member.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, we have discussion concerning resumes for appointing a BOC member. And I believe Mr. Pinkley had a comment about.
Yes, I think it allows us to have a little more time to look at these resumes and decide, go into after we open those and look at all those, then we can go into executive session and make a logical decision on who is best qualified for that board position. And I think we definitely got it, I think it's a much better way than just having people stand up. I believe that some people stand up out here and they don't want to stand up, so they don't, you might have some candidates that don't apply because they don't want to stand up in public and start off their resume. So I think it's a good idea. And now that we got that discussion going, I feel that it's absolute, because that's the only way on the boards I've been on prior that you could, when we had to appoint somebody, that's how it had to be. It had to be in writing. That's all I had to say.
And I don't think from what I understand, we're not setting a precedent by doing it this way. From what I understand, previous boards had also done something similar, correct?
David, I think we need to explain the history of what we're talking about to the public.
Okay,
Doug kind of took off as everybody assumes they know what we're talking about. I don't think they do.
Okay.
So explain why or how we arrived at this. And it all started with an email to all of us.
Yeah, so, I received an email first from, one of the previous, Bruce Larson, previous, BOC member, with this recommendation for utilizing resumes, which is has been done in the past. And it makes it a cleaner process. So I forwarded that to Rich then forwarded it out to the rest of BOC for discussion. So that goes to the point where I believe that this is not setting a precedent, we've done this in the past. To Commissioner Pinkley's point, it makes it easier for us to have more information instead of 5 minutes up there and then we go into percent, and we really don't know a lot at that point. So
Well, I think we have some time then, after we look at those resumes, to check out some of that stuff, learn what some of the other public opinions are about, say, that person.
Another thing is with the resumes, I mean, it's easier for the girls in the office, they can get the names, make sure they are homeowners on Holiday Island property, and that way we can go further that way. So that way if there is some that meet that criteria, we can throw them out, and it's other stuff like that.
I think it's really an absolute qualification that you have not only your own property in Holiday Island, but you have to be a homeowner, and an existing homeowner there, not just have a property, a lot, and then apply for so I think we need to change the wording in our regulations.
So right now it says that they have to be a resident property owner. That doesn't necessarily mean they have to be a homeowner,
Well, I think
which is, I
that's
think,
what
where a
ought
lot
to
of
be
people are getting the confusion, because if you buy a lot and you rent property here, you are considered a resident, a resident and a property owner versus a homeowner.
But if you're gonna run for the board, you ought to be a homeowner. That's my feelings.
Exactly. And it should be your main address should be here. I mean,
Right.
it shouldn't be your secondary address.
Not your secondary address.
And we can do this. I mean, a lot of the regulations, it's that gray area that we gotta polish up and make it black and white and more easy for people to understand.
But for this initial process, since the wording is, to Nicole's point, for this, people that are applying right now, what the criteria we're saying is resident, like they live here, whether it's an apartment or whatever, they live within the HICID boundaries, and they are a property owner. That's what we're gonna have to do until the language is changed, correct?
Correct.
Is there a way that we can update this prior to the decision being made?
We can rewrite it and have an emergency meeting next week.
I think that's what we gotta do.
I'm just, like I said, right now, so we're putting this, and then my next question is, what is the cadence? So, for the public to be able to plan for the.
Well, and that's, what I want to talk about was, we've agreed on people submitting resumes to be reviewed, to be considered as a BOC member. We need to establish when those resumes are due here at the HICID office, and when we're gonna make that selection.
So my thoughts, they have to be turned in by April 11th, which is a Friday, at 4 PM. And then we will set up a special meeting on the 15th, Tuesday the 15th at 1 o'clock. And that is when we will open them and review them. And we can have discussion, we can either go
What was
into
that date?
the 15th, April 15th, at 1 o'clock.
And then we can review those. Will we have to have that prior to our board meeting, or will we, make that announcement at our board meeting?
We will have that, we'll do that announcement at the board meeting, and then we will swear them in. So the next regular meeting, we'll have the work session on the 21st, and then we'll have a regular meeting on the 28th.
And that'll be when we swear them in.
That will be when we swear them in.
Sounds good to me.
So going back, what date would we need to have a special meeting to amend or consider amending the language?
We do it on the 15th.
If we do the 15th, if we do a special meeting on the 15th, we can have that, I can have that written up, and we can put that into effect before we even open the letters.
Well, my concern is, we're saying all resumes are due on the 11th. I would think we'd have to have.
Or
guidance.
beforehand.
clear guidance before they submit their resume, is what I'm saying.
Well, we were talking about having a special meeting in a week to redo this regulation.
Well, that's what I was saying, we gave notifications when the resumes are due, but what I asked was.
You gotta have it beforehand.
I understand, you want it in black and white before they're even turned in.
Right.
So we can do the 1st or the 8th.
Either day works for me.
If you want it on Tuesdays work better,
Tuesdays or Wednesdays.
Tuesdays and
Yeah.
Wednesdays. And 1 o'clock probably best. So we can do it, let's just plan on the April the 8th.
Is that on a Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
The golf league is always on Tuesday morning,
Yeah, we'll have it at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
You'll be done by then, right?
Yeah. Generally speaking, yes, I think they will.
Okay.
If not, we're slow playing.
Yeah,
So we're saying on the 8th.
That's the change
So
of
change
birth.
the wording.
yeah, so it'll be Tuesday, April the 8th at 1 o'clock. We'll have a special meeting for regulation. That will take 2 readings too. So we'll do the first reading on the 8th and then we can do the second reading on the 15th. Which should not matter because the first reading will be in place.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, it's been discussed, and I guess now we need to vote on everything we've talked about as far as we are going to just accept resumes on April 11th is the deadline. And I guess that's really all we're approving now is the format for which we're selecting a VOC member.
Yep.
So all those in favor of having potential VOC candidates submit their resumes on or before April 11th at 4 p.m., say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, we will be accepting resumes on up until 4/11 at 4 p.m. to be a member of VOC. Do I have a motion to discuss amending the regulation of chapter 14, section 14.3, acceptance of gratuities?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. It's open for discussion. We will discuss the amending of the regulation 14.3, which is gratuities. And I'll read the current regulation under 14.3. It states restrictions. It is the policy of the district that all employees and officers compensated from any fund of HICID, whether by wage, salary, or contractual agreement, on monthly remuneration, are prohibited from accepting any gratuity, regardless of form or nature, from any source other than HICID. And then we have 7 exceptions to those rules. And none of them provide for food service or drink employees to accept any tips.
I would like to make that a motion that we amend those regulations and put in that the servers and the bartenders are able to accept gratuities.
I wrote some wording that we could replace that with, and it strictly states that number 8, HICID employees working in the food and beverage capacity at a HICID facility may accept gratuities.
And I think that's maybe it's just all we need.
And what that does, it provides for events at the barn or any other location other than just the clubhouse. And by wording it that it's HICID employees working in a food and beverage capacity, which also allows the public to tip the cook or servers, busboys, or whoever else is working in that food service capacity. David, go ahead.
Yeah, so, and what we have written here already, so I think it meets what you're saying. So are we saying, or you would like to amend what we have written here? And what we have written in the draft form that we're gonna vote on is, it says, again, exceptions, the prohibitations in this section do not apply if the gift is, and then adding number 8, in the form of tips, in parentheses, under IRS law reporting of, which they're required to do, end parentheses, provided to a restaurant employee while in performance of their duties within a HICID managed establishment. So it sounds like that's already written the way you said, and if I'm missing anything. Because you talked about a HICID managed establishment, which we all agree, because that would be the bar, et cetera, and any managed facility, and a restaurant employee while in the performance of their duties. So I'm trying to see what's different on there, or can we go with what's written already as the first reading?
No, because what you read was a restaurant employee.
Okay.
And we're not always in a restaurant, it's not always a restaurant.
What if Eric, who's not a restaurant employee, we get busy and he fills in?
Good, no, I agree, so that's the reason I'm debating, or that's the reason I want to
Yeah,
clarify.
he's not a restaurant employee, but he could accept tips under what I've written here.
I agree, so,
As long as he's working in that capacity, he can accept gratuities.
But then at that same point, if he's not a HICID employee, what does it matter if he can accept tips or not?
It doesn't, because we have no jurisdiction over volunteers or anybody else.
But that's what I'm saying, that it wouldn't matter whether or not he can accept tips, because there it's talking about restaurant staff. And if Eric were to volunteer for something, he can get tips regardless, because he's not restaurant staff.
But under the regulation, as a HICID employee, he's prohibited.
But he's not an employee, he's a volunteer. So
He's
that, I guess that's where I'm confused, because if he's just volunteering to do something, he's not a HICID employee who's getting a paycheck. So I guess that's where I'm confused.
So if, let's just
His
say,
being a volunteer doesn't neglect or take away the idea that he is a HICID employee. He may not be working as a HICID employee in that capacity, but he's still a HICID employee, and he's still subject to workman's comp and everything else as a HICID employee. As a volunteer, they are not subject to all those things.
So you're talking about a HICID employee at a different department or something coming in, okay, that's where I guess I was
That's
not
right.
understanding
and that's.
what we were talking, because I thought you were just talking about
I'm
someone being
saying-
on the street volunteering. I was confused, but you're
No,
talking
no,
about.
what I'm saying, this gives Rich the latitude if he needs to move people around from different departments to fill in at the restaurant if he need be, and they're still included in the two.
I understand, that makes, that I understand.
Does that make sense?
so if Eric is taken, and the way this is written, so if Eric takes, and Misty needs Eric to serve a cocktail, and then he gets a $5 tip, as soon as Misty tells him to go behind that bar, he is under restaurant management, and he can, the way this is written, he can accept that tip.
Yes.
So it's this, I understand what you're saying, I think this is the same thing, just in a shorter version. So anybody, as soon as you walk in the restaurant and say you're or let's say you get moved to the restaurant to work there for an event. As soon as you're moved to that restaurant, you're clocking in under restaurant management, and you are accepting tips at that time.
And you have to report it, and you have to.
And he has to report them.
Report it.
If he's down at the pro shop and anybody walks up to him and hands him a $5 bill, he can accept it at the pro shop. But as soon as he walks in that restaurant, he's under the restaurant management supervision, he can accept a tip.
Agreed. What the regulation also does and provides for is if after a storm, there's a bunch of down branches and the street department's out cleaning up, our street department employee cannot accept a $10 tip from a homeowner for picking up branches in his driveway.
Anything less than $25, which is the way it's written.
I guess technically.
Yep, $25. Anything less than $25.
Okay, so I'm still good with that.
So like I said, I still hold that this, the way it's written, I can read it one more time so you have the context, but I think in the form of tips, under IRS law reporting of, provided to a restaurant employee while in the performance of their duties within a HICID
Okay.
management staff.
Yeah, may they accept cash in any form, yes. Thank you.
But again, under the scenarios we propose, once they're under the restaurant employee status, because they're serving, they're now put on their restaurant hat, they're covered, and they have to report their tips. So it covers there too.
Okay. I'm satisfied with that. I just think we need to address it. We've had a tip jar up there for eons, and it's not been quite the way it should be in the regs. So I think
Yeah.
we need to approve, rewrite and approve a regulation, a resolution concerning.
Yeah, this is not one of them gray areas. I mean, they were accepting tips to be recorded, and then they were considered, once they're recorded, they're considered an income. This is taking away, they still have to report their tips, but that way it's taking away the gray area of income.
The second part I had on this, this is our first reading, if we approve this is the first reading.
Mhm.
If the gray area, are we still covered under a gray area between now and the second reading?
Yep,
Can we put this on one of the agendas, the second reading on like what?
That's-
Yeah, that's a good idea.
that's what I was just saying.
That on our eighth,
Yeah.
on the eighth, that's.
Right, we
I
can
like
show
that.
that, age so that way we're not,
I like that.
which all we gotta do is just change the
the date.
date on the second reading.
Change the agenda for that meeting.
Right,
Okay.
to include the second reading, so that way we're only a week in the area.
Yeah. Okay, so you said-
We've discussed it as far as it wants, and now I guess it's a matter of voting on it.
Okay, I'll take the roll. Commissioner Reagan,
Yeah,
Commissioner Kingley,
Yes.
Commissioner Rocher, yes. Commissioner Brown.
Yes. It's been read and voted on and approved to amend the regulation of chapter 14, section 14.3, acceptance of gratuities by district employees. Move on to the amending regulation, chapter 17. Do I have a motion to discuss this?
I'll make a motion to discuss it.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded, and we will discuss the amending of regulation, chapter 17, which has to do with planning commission of HICID. It's open for discussion. In my, having read it and brought for attention by the mayor and the planning commission, that chapter 17 in our regulations is all about the HICID planning commission that doesn't exist. So we're proposing to completely abandon chapter 17 in our regulations concerning planning because it's covered by the city.
Can I
Sure,
point of clarification?
sure.
I guess just to be formal, I'll go to the mic.
Please,
Would you please turn it on?
The planning commission you're talking about eliminating was not a HICID planning commission. HICID has never had a planning commission. The planning commission that is defunct now was created out of the unit covenants by the developer. So it really had no connection to HICID. So you're basically eliminating a section that referred to the old Developers Planning Commission.
So was it not even relevant?
It's not relevant
Yeah.
anymore.
it wasn't relevant because it was by the
Now, do we need to make a
planning.
motion to, get rid of that, or if it's not a.
We still gotta, there we are in the gray area. It's in our regulations, therefore we're getting rid of it. We will still have planning in our regulations, but as it falls under, it'll be under the board of, it'll be Holiday Suburban, what am I saying here? It'll fall under city planning board. So when you look up planning, in the chapter 17 of our regulations now, they'll say falls under City of Holiday Island.
That's good, okay.
And it was there, so we gotta still eliminate it, even though it was not pertained to HICID,
Oh,
it's still in
yeah,
our
you change
regulations.
to say where it falls
Yep.
under the city.
Yep.
Good with me.
And we could also do the second reading on this April 8th too, if you guys want to.
I think so.
I think so. Anyway, chapter 17 does state that the Holiday Island Committee of Architecture ceased to exist on January 1996 and was replaced in interest by the Holiday Island Planning Commission Incorporated. It was established by McCullough Recreation Properties and or its successors to enforce the declaration of reservations and the platted units in the district. Yeah, well, we're gonna do away with 17, so.
Yep. They'll just, from now on, they'll say chapter 17 planning, and they'll say it falls under City of Holiday Island.
All those in favor of amending chapter 17 of the planning commission to, I would say the repealing of chapter 17 of the planning commission. Maybe I should repeat.
Or since we have this regulation number that we're actually quoting, can we just cite this, because, I'll read it if you want.
Go ahead.
All right, so what we have in front of us is the Holiday Island Urban Improvement District Regulation Number 2025-002, a regulation establishing the change of Chapter 17. Whereas Holiday Island's Urban Improvement District's Code of Regulations, Chapter 17, is to be removed and fall under the City of Holiday Island Planning Board. Whereas the City of Holiday Island will be responsible for all planning. Now therefore be it resolved, Board of Commissioners, Holiday Island Urban Improvement District Number 1. So I make a motion that we approve the first reading of this.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Maybe we should do a roll call. vote.
Yeah, I think because it's a regulation,
Yeah, let's do a roll call.
Commissioner Rosever, aye. Commissioner Pinkley,
Aye.
Commissioner Ralph,
Aye.
Commissioner Raymond.
Aye.
Unanimous.
The ayes have it, it's passed, to repeal chapter 17 of the planning commission. I have a motion to consider the action to approve Bill England's sprinkler agreement.
Rich, can you give us an update of what you told
I
me?
need a motion to open discussion.
I'll make a motion that open it.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded, and we'll discuss the action to approve Bill England's sprinkler agreement. Rich?
Yep, so the bid you got here is $250 what he normally charges, but he wants to get in here and help us out, so he's gonna drop it down to $150 with a spotter, so that way he doesn't get hit with a golf ball. And then he'll dig them all up, get them all ready, throw in the new sprinkler heads, come back, fill them in. And he's thinking with a spotter and an extra guy, at times he can, he's hoping to be out of here in a week, we'll just say a week. So this original bid was 3 to 4 weeks at $21,000.
How many were approved?
I mean,
Sprinkler heads,
there was 116 total, but now we're down to,
50-something.
we have a max of 12 golf holes and there's 6 to 10 per hole. So out of 18, they've already gotten 6 of the holes done. And then there's 12 golf holes left and there's 6 to 10 per hole.
So
I think-
roughly 75.
I think it's imperative that we get this as fast as we can, because we're not getting water on anything, because they've got to shut down. The greens are like, man,
We
we
haven't
don't
a
want
number yet.
Well, it's $150 an hour, and then he was looking at 3 to 4 weeks at $21,000. And now we're looking at 40 hours at $150, quick math, $700, $1,000.
How much?
Well,
Yeah.
now you're making me do math.
40 hours.
150 times 40 hours.
Yep,
That's why I said, when he said 1 week, I was quite surprised, so.
Yep, I mean, it dropped completely.
I wasn't, because they can dig up one fairway and a third of a day.
I'm saying that because it was approved 4 weeks.
Yeah, I know, I understand.
$6,000, so we're cutting, yeah. If he can get it done in a week, we're looking at $6 grand.
Because we've had some of those fairways dug up for a week and a half already.
Yep.
And we haven't did anything with them.
And Bill, he's done work for Bass Pro Shop and all that stuff. He worked for them and learned everything from them. So he's just kind of wanting to get his foot in the door here by doing this deal, because like the whole 12 water wall stuff needs to be repaired. So that way we consider him for that later on. He just wants to get his foot in the door, and that way he can establish a work environment with us.
When did he start?
I would say he's gonna start probably middle of this week, if not first of next. I can get a confirmation on that completely, but
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
it's,
Been moved and seconded to approve this Bill England sprinkler agreement of roughly $40 times $150 an hour. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Then I think we need to,
Approved. We will have Bill England do the sprinklers starting soon.
I think it was imperative then we start overseeing some of this stuff where there's no grass growing. As fast as we possibly can get those sprinklers working. Don't you agree, Rich?
yeah, and if you guys check your mailboxes, I threw some information there for you guys to read up on and everything. That way we know, you know exactly what's going on.
Right.
Very well. Further public comments? Mr. Mayor?
This is relative to something you were talking about earlier about the appointment of a commissioner. You were talking about changing the regulation to say, instead of resident property owner to homeowner. You might want to check with the attorney about that, because Arkansas Code 1492-240,
Says resident property owner.
it says, it very specifically says resident property owner.
I'm
And I
familiar
don't
with that.
believe that you can make a regulation that's more restrictive than the law. So just,
We can or cannot?
I
Can,
don't think you can.
okay, so here's a gray area. So you set, Arkansas sets their laws. And then you can go in with your own laws of how you want. You cannot be less than the state of Arkansas, but you can put your stipulations higher than the state of Arkansas. And then, once you, and I'll check with Matt on that, but I'm pretty sure we can make our stipulations stronger than the state of Arkansas to hold up in court. We cannot make our stipulations less than the state of Arkansas.
Well, I agree with that. The state says the speed limit's 50 and the chief says he wants it at 35. We can make a regulation that says the speed limit's 35.
Yeah, but this is a little different situation, because basically you would be disenfranchising someone from being able to be on the Board of Commissioners because of a regulation that you put in place, as opposed to that the law allowed you to put in place. I'm just saying, check with an attorney, because I don't think that you can be more restrictive. When it comes to elections like this, I don't think you can be more restrictive.
So, you tell me, what is your definition of a resident property owner?
And the code distinctly says district resident property owner.
So, as it was mentioned earlier, if you own property here, but you don't live on that property, you rent.
A townhouse.
Yeah, you're still a resident here and you're a property owner. I'm just saying, knowing how there are people in Holiday Island that are watching you guys with a magnifying glass trying to catch you doing something wrong, check with the attorney, that's all I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Agreed.
Dan, I think we'll let Matt Bishop review the wording, make sure we can be more restrictive. Any other public comments? Mr. Mills?
Ken Mills, 20 Rocky Top Circle. I think we all operated under the idea that the wording, what it meant, was it meant that you were a resident property owner living on that property, not, and Dan may be right that you can't be, further restricted, but that was the concept that we always operated under, and it wasn't, and it was always understood that you were a resident property owner living on that property.
And that's the biggest problem, it's understood, but what is the plain black and white printing of that? I mean, 8 different people can take resident property owner 8 different
And
meanings.
come up with a different definition
Yeah,
of what that is.
and that's what we're trying to do, we're trying to get rid of that gray area, in which it's a gray
All we gotta
area,
do is further define that.
yeah, and it's a gray area in Arkansas law
Right.
that needs to be fine too, so what
You
we're
get
wanting to do
an
is,
attorney general
yeah,
opinion on it, or?
no.
No. But I think the intent was, it meant what it says, is a resident property owner.
Is there an objection to someone who owns a lot and lives in the townhouse running for the VOC? Because that's what we're saying, right? That we can't, if you live in a townhouse and own a lot over here for $500, you cannot run for the VOC, that's what we're saying now.
Right. And I think.
Is that what is objectionable, that
Yeah.
somebody living in a townhouse renting cannot be on the VOC?
Once again, it falls under a lawyer. I mean,
Well, and I agree, I think,
and that's why I think we should, it needs to be written more black and white instead of, because Dan gets up there and he gives his part, and then Ken gets up there and gets his part, and they're 2 totally different things. And that's where we run into problems.
well, and my question, is that a problem?
It was.
Will it happen again? Probably.
Yeah.
But I guess it comes down to, as a board or as the homeowners, are we all in agreement that if you live in a townhouse and pay rent and own a lot, you cannot be on the VOC? That's what we're saying.
Well, that's what we're gonna have to
Right
do.
now, it's saying you can. In my
That's-
interpretation of just a resident property owner, you could do exactly, own a lot and live in a townhouse and pay rent, and you'd be eligible.
What I'm saying is it doesn't make any difference what we think.
All that matters at this point is what the lawyer thinks.
Yeah.
So we can, whatever we want, whatever it is, but it's gonna come down to what the lawyer says. And it may be that we're not gonna say a homeowner, but there may be different type of wording that we can include for whichever way we want to go forward with this. But at the end of the day, we're gonna have to wait to get Matt's opinion on this before we can even decide.
Well, I think, Rich, you can check that out with the attorney and we'll find out and we'll still be able to do something on the.
Let's, then I think we need to table this motion.
No, this isn't anything wrong, we're on just discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't done anything with this yet. I mean, this is just a discussion of changing it, I'll get with Matt. I mean, we haven't, this isn't anything on the agenda or anything like that.
Well, it is.
No, all we're doing
Residents.
is the resumes.
Right,
It doesn't have anything to do with the wording of the regulation for homeowner or resident owner.
okay.
So April 8th? In other words, correct me if I'm wrong, did we say April 8th would be the revised wordage? So we have between now to April 8th to revise the wordage.
I guess
So
2
there is a-
weeks.
Huh?
I guess with 2 weeks.
Well, I'm just saying, so it is something we are,
It's in the works of what
Yeah.
we're going to do, yes,
Right.
but we don't
not
have,
today,
correct, and we don't have a final decision because we need to.
we need to see what,
Exactly,
between now and the 8th.
right.
Because depending on what the answer is, we may not vote on the 8th.
Any other public comments? Gary?
Just like
to give y'all an update where we're at the fire department. January and February was very nice to us. Our call volume was down, but this month it started to pick up. Last week was very heavy for us. We had multiple medical calls, plus we had 3 fire calls. All of them involved woodland or grass fires. So we really want to emphasize with folks to adhere to the burn bans and no burning whatsoever outside. But we have hired our 3rd full-time employee to fill the spot that was open. Phil Kimball is the former fire chief at Inspiration Point. We interviewed him and one other, and he come out on top. And he starts April the 1st, and we will be fully staffed at that time, and hopefully things start smoothing out for us.
Thank you, Chief. Commissioner comments?
I have a question for Rich. Not that you have anything going on your plate, but, how are we doing on bids for the water tower?
Haven't looked into it anymore.
We're ready to get back from vacation and stuff.
Yeah, Dan's back. We're working on the UV project, and like I said, for the water tower, we can't do anything until the 2026. So it's gotta be put in the budget for 2026, so I got a little bit of time left because we'll start that budget in September. And I'll make sure that we do have water tower bids in there for the budget for 2026 in September.
Any other commissioner comments?
I have none right now, none on that at all.
Nicole?
No.
I have some comments that come up. Yeah, on other things, okay?
Oh, in the future?
Huh?
For in the future?
Yeah, for this meeting.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
That's about over.
Yeah, well, okay, we gotta make a decision on this tractor. And this tractor's $68,000. I think if you looked at, did you all get the email from Rich on the brush hog?
No, I did not forward that this morning.
Okay, you didn't forward that to anybody.
No.
But we can buy a brush hog, which is a Versaboom, okay? In other words, to fit this tractor. And I think we can, I told Rich we need to check that out because they're considerably cheaper in Nebraska. That's all they had. I've never seen the ones the Versaboom that they built here. But, and Rich said in Iowa, that's all they use too. So, this tractor would be at $68,000. Here's the bid. You got that. And then I think that, we had that bid on that Versaboom for $96,000 for that 22-footer. Well, they've got along with the 12-footer and fine, let's let Rich talk to these guys, and their address is in Ohio. And they will give us a bid on that, on the Versaboom. We gotta get this tractor settled, we're gonna lose that tractor, guys. I mean, it's gotta be at this meeting, okay, to have Rich go ahead and pay him. I think he's got the tractor on hold for us, correct? I've talked to him too, so I know he's holding it for us.
Good,
I
yeah.
think we have to decide right now.
Do we have a number on a 12-foot brush hog?
No, I haven't had any time to get any more bids or anything.
Well, I think until we have a total price, it's kind of hard to make a commitment to it. I mean,
Well, we can't make a commitment on the brush hog, but we can make a commitment on the tractor. We've got it. I mean, we're gonna lose that tractor otherwise.
well, I think we gotta be right as what the total price is. And right now, I'm not hearing a total price.
Yeah, we're going off, well, I mean, we had total price, but it was a big boomer or bigger boom to fit that tractor. And I didn't have time to get any more brush hog prices or even call them to get any more prices. And plus, I kinda wanted to get a better feel. I'm glad the February financials came out, so that way we got a better idea what's going on there too. So I was kinda leery about that with the not having the financials, cause we were kinda put about 3 weeks behind.
We had a price on that Versaboom for that $47,000 or $48,000, but that was only a 12-footer. The price we got for that $96,000, that was a 22-footer, which they don't need. And basically, they need the shorter one, and let's get the smaller one, and it's a lot cheaper, but we gotta get this tractor thing settled immediately.
I don't even see this on the agenda, unfortunately, to even vote on this, right?
Mhm. No, because I did not have everything put together to even put it on here.
But we have to get this settled this morning. I mean, we gotta tell Rich to go ahead or not go ahead. I mean, we got it, we got
We
council.
can't, but we can't right now, because it's not on the agenda, so it's not something we can vote on.
We don't have all the information.
I
We
thought
don't
we
have
had
all the
this
information.
scheduled for the,
Since I did not have another price on the bush hog and a complete number for you guys, I did not put it on there because I was trying to get all the regulations switched over and everything else throughout the week to try and get this stuff prepared that had to have 2 readings. So I did not get the stuff prepared for the tractor.
Rich, what's your feeling with the guy in Nebraska with this tractor? Do you have to tell him today, or what's the story?
I'm sure I could call and talk to him, just see what he says. And then if we have to, I gotta get prices together and figure out how much it's gonna cost and do a special meeting on it. But,
That's
yeah,
what we're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
Let's set a special meeting to finalize this.
yep, and special meeting, I mean, all I gotta give is a 2-hour notice on a special meeting, so.
here's the guy, did you guys look at all the emails on the specs on this tractor and everything?
Yep.
Okay.
And Rich, I know I talked to Mike after that meeting too, and he mentioned that the horsepower issue where he said it wasn't an apples to apples, the one that the new one, I just wanna clarify, Mike said it was kind of an apples to apples.
Not even close.
Mike, if you look at the specs on the New Holland for 166,000 with the horsepower and the boom and everything, which, that was another thing, that work session, I should have had Mike in here comparing it. But he says they are apples to
That was
apples.
a 100 horsepower tractor.
It's 120, 105 out the PTO.
So I just wanna make sure before I vote on something that, like I said, I personally wanna have all the facts in, and if it's an apples to apples, that changed what I
This
was
is a
hearing.
140 horse tractor.
120 out the PTO.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah. 120 out the PTO. 140 horse, 120 out the
But
PTO.
I'm talking about this John Deere 6125 is a much heavier tractor.
Yeah, well,
I would want to have Rich, who drives these things, also be in the room before I make
yeah.
a decision.
A lot of choices here, a lot of decisions to make.
But to your point, it is something we need to address quickly, or we'll lose that as an option. So I agree with you, Doug, but
And this tractor is a lot more expensive tractor than those tractors by a long, long way. I mean, if you look at the tractor.
oh, and again, I'm self-proclaimed, man, I'm not a tractor guy. That's the reason I went to,
I have been.
that's the reason I'm listening to you, I'm listening to Mike, and I'm trying to gather in as much information I can on this. But that's the reason I went back to talk to Mike, I'm like, hey, he's saying it's not, larger versus smaller.
And more
They're the same.
than
So when I-
happen on these tractors
So,
because
I
all
want
that
that.
is for catastrophic problems.
But I agree, so we have to have some, we do need to resolve this, I agree, sooner than later, because then we may lose the option, but there's even an option.
Well, I think it's imperative then that we get a price on the 12-foot brush hog. Because we started out at 170 grand.
If we get this.
Decided to go with the used tractor, the new boom, and we're at more than 170 grand.
Yeah, that was my biggest,
They've been using a 12-foot brush hog or boom for years. I don't understand why we need to go to a bigger one. Mike's comfortable with that, and that's what we ought to be buying, is that size
the
boom.
The New Holland one that he gave you specs for was the same one that they use in this area, the county and other towns around here. And then the used tractor with the same specs for the boom and the brush hog, or the Versa boom, was based off of the same specs as the New Holland that we already had price of. The biggest problem,
The new Holland and the brush hog that they quoted though is at
66.
$166,000.
Yeah, we can get this brush hog for 50,000, and we have 68,000.
And that was the problem. I mean, we thought we were gonna get the other setup for a lot cheaper. Next thing we know, it's $96,000
Yeah, well,
because of everything it took to mount it. I mean, are we gonna run into that same problem again? I don't know. I gotta figure it
well,
out.
I don't know, we gotta call these people, you got their phone number, I mean,
Yep.
And you've dealt with it before, and you bought these before.
Yep, I have bought that rear bow disc brush hog before.
And the model number of that is RMB 1865-1.
But I'm also trying to make the right decision here.
Right.
I mean, I'm trying to do what's best. We get this tractor, which, like I said, the tractor's a good deal. But then the front tires are flotation device or low impact tractors for flat land, not for hilly country, so we gotta switch them out. And then we could go with a cheaper brush hog mounted on the back, but are we gonna have the same amount of reach? If we have that, like the one I did before, we had to have weight to the front end. We had to spread the rear axles out further to get it so that way it was more stable because you got all that weight on the back instead of the center of the tractor. So you add more stuff to that. And then you gotta add a cage to the back window or the side that the boom goes off of. So then you're getting into more money. So that's why you can't just go buy a brush hog and say, good, put it on, let's go.
No,
You gotta put all the specs, you gotta make sure it's safe,
Gotta
the
have
weights, counterweights, protective cages, there's everything like that. And then you're still putting it on a 10-year-old tractor. And you can say whatever you want about warranty, but my God, I blew the front axle out of my UTV this weekend, called them up this morning, like, yep, it's covered, there's $500 I just saved myself because of warranty. And if that DEF goes out of that John Deere, we are up the creek without a paddle. And if it goes out of that New Holland, 2 months into it, that's $1,500 just to hook the computer up to see what's wrong with it.
It's a lot lighter tractor too.
They're exactly the same tractor.
That's what I'm saying.
No, it's not.
You're saying there's.
It's not a
The
61.
specs are exactly the same.
Rick, what boom was quoted for that 166 grand?
What's that?
What boom was quoted in the bid?
I think it was an 18-foot.
So he's got room to move to go to a smaller boom.
You can, but then you're gonna go with a smaller tractor. And then you go with a smaller tractor, you ain't got the same horsepower.
You could put that on, you could put that small, he said, the guy told me they could put that, any size on a tractor. It's the same, the mounts are the same.
That's fine, I just wanna make sure we make the right decision.
Yeah.
That's
Because
gotta
I did
last.
talk to the guy about that.
Okay, we're gonna leave this, that Rich will contact the guy and get some more pricing, because it's not on the agenda, we're not gonna vote on it today.
I think we need to set up a special meeting.
I'll get prices thrown together, we will get it all under control, I'll call a special meeting, we'll compare them all. And if I have to, I'll bring Mike in, just that way he can compare apples to apples and explain it better to you guys.
Let's move on to the agenda scheduling, which I think we pretty much have already
Yep,
gone through. We've got a meeting on the 11th at 4 p.m.
we're gonna do April 8th at 1.
Oh, yeah, April 8th, then the 11th, then the 15th, then the 28th.
April 1st at 4 PM is when resumes are due.
Yep, that will not be a special meeting, the
That's just when
11th are just when the resumes have to be turned in by.
April 11th is not a meeting,
Nope,
it's just that's when the.
Okay.
yep,
So we want to
Exactly, what we're talking about is the agenda.
yeah,
That's what I thought.
April 11th is not an agenda
It's just.
nope.
item. So the 8th is a special meeting, which is on the agenda.
Yes. So we'll have Tuesday, April 8th at 1 PM.
Correct.
We'll have Tuesday, April 15th at 1 PM.
Right?
Can we, Rich, would this be probable to put this tractor thing on April 8th at that special meeting?
I'll get on it, and if, yep, I'll try and get on there. And then we're gonna have the second reading of the regulations on April the 8th too.
Okay,
And then we have April 28th is the swearing in of.
21st, we'll have a work session
Correct.
at 9 AM. And then April 28th, we'll have another regular meeting.
At which time we'll swear in the new commissioner.
Yep. All right, we have a meeting every week of April.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and I know that there's some special meetings that might be.
You want me to put that on there too?
Just for my schedule, I won't, just for planning, I won't be here April 4th and 5th, so don't, you
Okay.
can plan something, I'm just saying, for my schedule, I'm gonna be out of town.
As long as this is good, we'll keep this set up, and that way, if I can get everything put together, then I'll put the tractor on for the April the 8th. And I will call and talk to that guy in Nebraska and see what he can do for us.
Are you gonna call a special meeting for this, later this week? We got nothing going on later this week, right? I'm leaving out of town on Thursday morning.
But you'll be here in time, okay, yeah, you're good.
Have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded, this meeting's adjourned.
You didn't vote. You
What?
didn't vote.
We're still live.
We're still on.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This meeting's